What's up, filmmakers? Let's pick up where we left off in the last tutorial. So in the last tutorial, we deleted our sequence and we put our footage into two separate bins. So now let's create a new sequence to start from scratch. So let's go here to theater footage, and I'm going to click on this clip. And again, I know that you're using your own footage, so just follow along however you see fit with your footage. Okay, I'm going to start here and go there, creating in and out points, and then click and drag. So what I mentioned the last time is that the first clip you put into your timeline creates a sequence, and that sequence takes on the properties of that first clip you put in. So for instance, 24 frames per second clip will create a 24 frame per second sequence. But I also forgot to mention that it also takes on the same exact name. So as you can see here in the project panel, I'll press the tilde key to full screen. We have a sequence here. In case you recognize that sequence icon, I'll point it out again. And we have our clip here. So this clip created this sequence, and it has the same properties, but it has the same exact name as well. And we don't really want that because we want our sequence to stand out when we're looking at this project panel. So I'm going to right click, go to rename, and say my sequence 1. Okay? And then press the tilde key to exit full screen. Now let's turn our attention here to the program monitor. So we have this clip here. We could drag our playhead and look at it. Let's say we wanted to mark an in point and an out point here in the program monitor. So why would we want to do that? Let me show you. So let's say you want to do some kind of jump cut. So instead of watching them walk the whole way, you want them to go here and then skip all the way to there. Okay, so we can go here and mark an in point and mark an out point. And again, it's the same exact thing as going and pressing it on your keyboard. So pressing I on the keyboard, it's the same exact thing. It's just you could do it from here as well. And now two different buttons you could look at are the extract button and the lift button. So let's see what the extract does. So the extract button is keyboard shortcut apostrophe. And look what that did. It created the gap between the two. So I'm going to play that. And it did just that. Now let's Command Z to undo that. And let's take a look at this other button, the lift button. And the keyboard shortcut is the semicolon. So let's go here and let's lift. So you see what that did? It did the same exact thing, except it left a huge gap here between the clips. So let's Command Z to undo that. And now press Option and X on your keyboard to get rid of the in and out points. So now let's look at the marker button. Now that's right here. That's a marker, add marker, keyboard shortcut M. So why would you want to add a marker? Well, let's say you want to make that cut we just did, but you're not sure if you want to actually do it or if it's just an idea. So you can go here and press M, and it's adding a marker right here on the clip. You could also click out of the clip and have the marker on the timeline here, whichever one you prefer. And you could double click the marker and you could increase the duration here. And that's way too long. I'm going to click and drag that. So you say, so maybe you double click on that again, and you could say delete for jump cut, let's say. Question mark, because you're not sure if you want to make that cut. But you're just letting yourself know from here to here, I want to make a cut, but I don't know if I want to do it yet, so I'm leaving it as an option. And you're just writing a note to yourself. So that's all that markers really do. So let's Command Z to undo that. Sorry for the interruption. If you're enjoying this video, this is just a friendly reminder to please like and subscribe to the channel. It takes a lot of time and effort to make these videos, so your support will be much appreciated. So now let's say you want to play a video from a certain point. So maybe you have a scene and maybe you want to play one part of that scene or one part of that clip. You could press I on the keyboard, in, and then out. And maybe you want to take a look at some specific detail. So you could actually press this button here, that's loop playback, and that will loop the playback. You can see here. And it just plays it over and over again to infinity. Okay. Let's press Option X to undo that as well. Now let's focus on our timeline. So here we have the timeline, and on the side here we have the toolbar section here, which is right next to the timeline. So what do you do in the toolbar section? What does that do? Well, here you have the selection tool. You could select a clip. And if you had another clip here, actually let's add another clip here. Let's click and drag this, and now the selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, just lets you select things. Now let's go here to track select forward and keyboard shortcut A. What does that do? Click on that and you see it selected both clips, and if there was a third clip there, it also select the third. So track select forward, and you can see what it does. It just selects a whole bunch of those clips from the point you select. So if I add another clip, I know this is bad editing, but let's just say we repeated this same clip before and after the interview. So if we did track select forward with keyboard shortcut A, we would just move everything to the right of where you selected. Now let's look here and look at the ripple edit tool, keyboard shortcut B. So what does that do? So I have this selected now. As you can see, it's highlighted, and I'm gonna just click and drag. So normally with the keyboard shortcut V, the selection tool, I'm gonna click that and I'm gonna cut this, and as you can see, it leaves a huge gap between the two clips. Let's say you want to cut it, but you don't want that gap there anymore. Go to keyboard shortcut B, or just click on the ripple edit tool, and you can click and drag, and boom, it brought this clip down with it to remove that gap. Now let's look at here, the razor tool, keyboard shortcut C. I'd like to think of it as cut. So C, and then so I'll make a cut here and here, and now I'll Option delete, and Option delete basically just does the same thing ripple edit does, except you're actually deleting an entire clip, and it just shifts everything over once you make that cut, so you don't leave a gap in between. So as you can see here, we actually left a gap. So I'm going to click on the selection tool with keyboard shortcut V, click on this, and now backspace, and we just get rid of the gap. Now let's go back down to our slip tool. Now let's say you want a different part of this scene. So essentially you made this cut here, but instead of this in and out point, you want it to start here to, let's say, end here. You could actually do that without deleting this and dragging it back in. You could actually use the slip tool to shift where you want your footage to start from. So I'll go here, and we're starting from all the way from the beginning now, even before I said action probably, and it completely changed your in and out point without you having to delete the clip and bring it back in again. So that's pretty neat. And here we have the pen tool, keyboard shortcut P, and this kind of creates a shape, any kind of shape you want to make over your clip. Now this could be really good for animation or maybe infographics, but we don't need to worry about that right now, but I'm just going to show you what it does. I made a little boot. Okay, Command Z to undo. The rectangle tool, or the ellipse tool, polygon tool, it just creates that shape. So I'm going to do the rectangle tool, and it just creates a shape. So this is also good for infographics. Command Z to undo. Now let's go here. Let's say that you want to inspect different parts of your clip. So you're not sure if there's maybe, I don't know, a bit of dust in your camera lens and you want to see how it looks. So let's say there's some dust in your camera lens right here, and you want to see if you could see it. So the hand tool is very handy. So that's keyboard shortcut H. And you could use this here, the fit button, put the down arrow, and you can see here we could actually zoom in, and then the hand tool lets us move around the area. And this doesn't actually affect your final output. This is just for you to view your image, to see what's in it. So if you go to 200%, you're not going to export 200% with just looking at this can there. That's not going to happen. It's just for you to look and inspect your picture. That's it. Let's go back to fit. Now the type tool. The type tool is really cool because you could type your titles. So if you're doing a movie, you have a movie title. You could say my movie, and you just created a title there. And as you can see, I'm actually using this to adjust the timeline, so I could zoom in the timeline, or you pull this thing and zoom out, and I'm looking at my title now, and it created a clip on top on track 2 once you typed it in. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about the Generative Extend tool, which is right down here. Click on that. So what is that? Well, that's the new AI feature in Premiere Pro, and it's kind of useful, I guess. So let's say, you know, your clip ends here, and you want it to be a little bit longer. So what do? You just click and drag, and it'll actually use AI to extend your clip. So let's see what the AI here comes up with. All right, it's ready. Let's see what the AI came up with. All right, not bad. Now I'm going to show you something else, but first I want to make sure that you have a clip with both audio and video. So if you don't have that, please import that right now, because what I'm about to show you is how to separate the audio and video. So you go here, you right click, and see how it says Unlink? Click on that. So look here, click on this clip, the audio and video are synced, but here we pressed Unlink, so that unlinks the sound from the audio, and you could actually move it around any way you want. Bring it over here and make the sound and video out of sync. It's just quiet. Command Z to undo that. And I'm actually going to select both of these by shift selecting, right click, and press link. And there we go. Now let's look over here at the properties panel. So we have our clip selected here. And if you don't have this panel, let me go up here to Window and make sure Properties is selected. If it's not, click on that. So you'll see that pop up. And so you could do different things with this. You could actually move the position. So let's say you want to do this. You can move the position, move it over, scale it up, rotate it, and the opacity as well. Let's undo that by resetting. Or let's say you want to create your own fake widescreen. You can go up here to top, 17, bottom, make it 17. So you just created your own widescreen. I'm going to reset that with this button. And that's the property panel. And next we have effects. So let's talk about some effects we have. So we can go here to our project panel, click on this arrow, and go to effects. And you could also have an effects panel by making sure that window and then effects is checked off. So let's go here. Let's take a look at some of the effects. So we have Lumetri presets. I'm not going to do that. Video effects. Color correction. Let's do that. Lumetri Color. Click and drag. There we go. And now let's go to Window and do Lumetri Color. So we have that popped up now. And what we're going to do is just change the color a bit. So I know in the first tutorial we went over this, so we could do a little bit more with this. We could make it a bit more magenta, a bit more green. Increase the saturation, which just makes all the colors more vivid. Or desaturate. And up the contrast. Increase the shadows by pulling this down. Boost the whites by pushing this up. And we also have another panel here called Creative. So I'm going to go to Reset Effect. So now we're back to normal. And down here in Creative, we have some looks that are preset. Let's go here and see. Bleach. All right, Command Z to undo that. Duotone. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty cool. And we could actually change the intensity. And you can just play around with all these different looks in this drop-down menu here. And next we have transitions. So let's scroll here in our project panel. And let's look at video transitions, which should be somewhere here. There it is. And we have basic transitions here like dissolve. So you can go dip to black, click and drag it onto your timeline in between these two clips. And let's take a look at it.
Lighthouse Theater.
And you can see there is a fade in. All right, let's double click on this. And we could actually change the duration manually. We could also do something else too. We can go click on dip to black and then go to our effect controls panel, which is right here. And again, if you don't see it, just make sure that you could see it here in your window, effect controls. All right, so let's say you don't like the way it starts. So it kind of starts, it kind of ends it off here, the tail end of this clip, and goes right into this clip. Let's say you want the fade to happen sooner here. So you could actually do that by, again, let's make sure it's selected. Select the transition. And let's go to end at cut. So now it's going to end us here and fade us in there. Let's say you want it to be longer. You could click and drag it to make it longer. There we go. And now we have our basic title on top. So I'm going to expand the timeline. But it's kind of boring. So let's click and drag this. And we're going to do something pretty cool. We're going to have a little bit of animation, actually. So let's go to the beginning. So J to rewind it. Or you could use this key here on our program monitor and go to the beginning. And then this goes to the end. So, whoops, did that again. That goes to the end point there. So let's bring this back. Click on go to in, bring it to the beginning. And now let's make sure our title is selected. And let's go up here to window. And you could either do this here, where you see your effect controls panel, but there's also a properties panel. We could also control this from. So I'm going to do it here in the effect controls. So I'm going to go here and go to the stopwatch in the position property and click on here, and that set our first keyframe. So I'm going to bring this to the side, and then I'm going to go forward in time. Then here I'm going to press reset parameter, and it brings it back to the center. Now let's see how that looks. So we've just created our first animation. And you could do more with that too. You could scale it up. So start it off here, and then click and drag here and make it bigger. Let's see how that looks. Let's go to the beginning, play. So as you can see here, the movement looks a bit stiff, so we could actually fix that. So we can go here and click and drag to select both of these keyframes, the position and the scale. Right click, temporal interpolation, and click on ease out. Now let's do that again. Let's click here and then select these two. Right click, temporal interpolation, ease in. Let's see how that looks. So it's a slight difference, but you could tell that it kind of eases in more to the movement and stops less abruptly at the end. So it looks pretty good.